Welcome back. The U.S. has imposed fresh sanctions on Iran's construction sector. The U.S. State Department says the curbs will also hit trade in four materials used for Tehran's military and nuclear programs. The U.S. State Department spokesman Morgan Ortagus said the latest sanctions would help preserve oversight of Iran's civil nuclear program. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Tehran's construction sector is controlled by the Revolutionary Guard Corps. He said the sanctions will reduce proliferation risks and constrain Iran's ability to build a nuclear weapon. Israel has approved the construction of over 2,000 illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank. Settlement watchdog Peace Now has revealed Tel Aviv took this decision on October 10th. Peace Now says the settlement construction has increased under Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. All settlements are considered illegal under international law and are a violation of the UN's two-state solution. Netanyahu is currently fighting for his own political survival after failing to form a coalition government after elections in September this year. His pledge to annex the West Bank during election campaign received widespread condemnation and rejection. Turkey says it has freed 18 Syrian soldiers captured inside the proposed safe zone in northeastern Syria. The Turkish Defense Ministry says the decision to release was reached during talks with Russia. It said the Syrians were captured on Tuesday near the key border town of Ras al-Ain during reconnaissance. Turkish authorities say they investigated the soldiers' identities before letting them go to ensure they were not ISIS militants. President Tayyip Erdogan has repeatedly said Ankara will never allow Kurdish fighters to stay on the Syria-Turkey border. ISIS has pledged to avenge Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi's killing by the United States. In an audio message, the group's spokesman confirmed Baghdadi's death. ISIS has named Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Qureshi as their new leader. Al-Qureshi said the group's legislative and consultative body was convened after Baghdadi's death. Baghdadi was killed in a U.S. raid on his compound in northwestern Syria last week. Al-Qureshi has also confirmed the death of the group's previous spokesman, Abu Hassan al-Muhajir, in a separate raid. Iraq's President Barham Saleh has promised to hold a snap parliamentary election after a new election law is passed. He said Prime Minister Adel Abdul Mahdi agreed to step down if a replacement was found. In an address to the nation, Saleh pledged to support the protesters. Saleh said he is consulting political parties to pass reforms to maintain Iraq's security. The president says a new electoral law will be tabled in parliament next week. The remarks come days after religious leader Muqtada al-Sadr supported protesters' calls for an early election. Meanwhile, Iraqi security forces have killed one protester and wounded over 50 others as anti-government protests continue. In Lebanon, the Hezbollah movement has said Saad al-Hariri's resignation as prime minister wasted time for economic reforms.
In an interview, Sanchez said there would be no independence for Catalonia, either offline or online. The Spanish government has adopted a decree to oblige all public administrations to host their websites in the European Union. Separatist politicians have set up the online Catalan Republican Council, claiming to have 80,000 followers. Meanwhile, hundreds of students have blocked the streets in Barcelona, calling for Catalan independence. A large group of students marched through the streets to San Jaume Square outside the regional government headquarters.
Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez says government will not allow Catalonia to seek online independence. This follows his efforts to control separatist groups and parties' activity on the internet.
In a statement, the group accused the United States of meddling in domestic affairs to spread chaos. France also called for quick formation of a new government to enact urgent reforms. Meanwhile, protesters have set up tents outside government headquarters. Demonstrators say they will not leave the streets until the demands are met. The country has been swept by 2 weeks of protest against the political elite. Earlier, President Michael Aoun formally asked the cabinet to continue in a caretaker role until a new one is formed.
In Chile, the death toll in the continuing anti-government protests has risen to 23. The Chilean prosecutor's office says 5 people have been killed in clashes with security forces while 2 died in custody. The Justice Ministry says more than 9,200 people have been arrested across the country. Demonstrators say they plan more protests on the weekend, demanding the resignation of President Sebastián Piñera. The protesters started over new taxes imposed by Piñera's government. The US has grounded its fleet of Chinese-made drones to conduct a review of the program. China's foreign ministry has hit back, calling the US move discriminatory. Interior Department spokesman Nick Goodwin said any UAVs made from Chinese components have been grounded. Goodwin gave no reasons for the decision, but it comes amid US security concerns over Chinese electronics. Over 800 aircraft have been grounded under the review program. Goodwin says exceptions would be made for drones being used for emergency purposes. He said the department will review any potential security risks the drones could pose. US President Donald Trump says the leader of Britain's opposition Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, will be bad for Britain if he becomes Prime Minister. In an interview, Trump praised Boris Johnson for trying to push ahead with Brexit. He said the United States might not be able to do a trade deal with Britain after Brexit. Trump said Johnson is the right choice for Britain in these times. In response, Corbyn accused President Trump of interfering in Britain's general election to get his friend Johnson elected. The general election will be held on the 12th of December. In the United States, the House of Representatives has passed a resolution to formally proceed with the impeachment inquiry against President Donald Trump. The Democratic-controlled House voted by 232 to 196 to begin holding public hearings in the U.S. Congress. Soon after the vote, Trump said the probe is the greatest witch hunt in American history. Republicans accused Democrats of using impeachment to overturn the results of his 2016 victory. Earlier, U.S. House committees have asked former White House National Security Advisor John Bolton to testify to the impeachment inquiry. The House is investigating whether Trump abused the powers of his office by pressuring Ukraine for personal political gain. In the Philippines, 19 people have been killed after a truck plunged a ravine in northern Apayao province. Police say 22 others have been wounded in the accident. They say most of the passengers were farmers. The vehicle fell backward down a hill into the 20-meter deep ravine. And we'll take a quick short break here. We'll be right back. Welcome back. In Pakistan, Kashmir Solidarity Day is being observed to express solidarity with the oppressed people of Indian-occupied Kashmir. Life continues to remain out of gear in the valley as Indian atrocities enter the 89th day. An environment of fear and uncertainty persists as reports of night raids, torture and incarcerations emerge. Politicians and civil society will hold a protest walk in Islamabad to draw world attention towards continuous Indian lockdown. Government employees have worn black armbands in solidarity with their Kashmiri brethren. The World Bank has recognized Pakistan's efforts towards an economic turnaround, reducing expenditures and practicing austerity. Meeting Prime Minister Imran Khan in Islamabad, World Bank President David Malpass said Pakistan made substantial progress in economic indicators despite fiscal challenges. The Prime Minister appreciated the World Bank's financial and technical support to Pakistan. He reiterated the government's resolve towards the strengthening of the economy, ensuring transparency. Khan said ease of doing business, enhancing the tax base and attractive foreign investment is the government's top agenda. President of the International Court of Justice, Abdul Yaqavi Yusuf, says Pakistan has implemented the judgment in Kulbhushan Yadav's case. Addressing the General Assembly, Yusuf said Pakistan gave consular access to the Indian spy on 2nd of August in line with the court's verdict of 17 July. He said Islamabad also apprised the ICJ about the implementation of the ruling. Yadav was arrested from Pakistan's southwestern Balochistan province in 2016. He was then sentenced to death by a military court on charges of espionage and terrorism. In July this year, the International Court of Justice rejected India's plea to acquit Yadav of spying charges. Over 8,000 Indian Sikh pilgrims have arrived in Pakistan to celebrate the 550th birthday of the founder of Sikhism. The pilgrims will visit Gurdwara Kartarpur in Narowal district, which is the birthplace of Baba Guru Nanak Dev. More in this report.
In the first cultural exchange of its kind, a religious procession of Sikh pilgrims called Nagar Kirtan crossed the Wagah border. The procession ferry consists of specially crafted gold-plated palanquin that weighs 200 kilograms and carries Sikhism's religious texts. It will be placed at the birthplace of Baba Guru Nanak in Narowal district. Pakistan welcomes the Nagar Kirtan as a gesture of goodwill.
We will go to Nankana Sahib, Panja Sahib, Sacha Sauda and all the Gurdwaras, which will be open to visit. It is a wonderful feeling and an exciting moment. We are excited to go to Nankana Sahib.
Pakistan has made special arrangements to facilitate the Sikh pilgrims' stay in the country. Prime Minister Imran Khan will also inaugurate the Kartarpur corridor on the 9th of November. The project will establish a visa-free link between Darbar Sahib in Kartarpur and the Dera Baba Nanak's shrine in India's Punjab.
Pakistan has waived off the $20 processing fee for Sikh pilgrims coming through the Kartarpur corridor. Prime Minister Imran Khan says that step is a welcoming gesture for the pilgrims. The relief was extended to devotees visiting Pakistan for the celebration of the 550th birthday of Guru Nanak Dev. This one-time waiver will be for the day of inauguration and on Guru Nanak's birthday. Islamabad has also relaxed the conditions of carrying a passport for identification and prior registration for the visitors. The visiting Sikhs won't need a passport, just a valid ID, and they won't need to register 10 days in advance. In the Somali capital of Mogadishu, people are trying to rebuild their lives despite conflict and regular terrorist attacks. New businesses like a floating bar and restaurant are attempting to breathe life into the war-torn country and bolster the growing tourism sector. Details in this report.
Young people play football on the beach in Mogadishu. Others meet with friends to sing and eat together in a park. Despite the ongoing conflict in the capital, Somalis are looking for quiet places to relax. Abdul Qadir Ibrahim fled the conflict to Italy in the 70s, but after 10 years abroad, he decided to return to the country to create his own business, a floating bar and restaurant.
When I saw in developed countries that there were boats with bars on tourist beaches, I thought it would be a great idea to create a floating restaurant here too.
Several restaurants have sprung up on Lido Beach since the Al-Shabaab terrorist group was driven out of the city by African Union soldiers in 2011. The beach, just one of the few public spaces in the city, has risen in popularity. But this has also made it a target for the Al-Shabaab militants who continue to hit the capital regularly. In 2016, an attack on a waterfront restaurant left 19 dead.
Mogadishu is a resilient city where buildings destroyed by suicide cars are quickly rebuilt, and the youth is afraid of nothing and lives in peace.
Despite tensions, many businesses are emerging in the Somali capital. The country is slowly trying to change its image, and it is making inroads. In recent years, many foreign airlines have started to offer flights to Somalia.
And now from the world of business, the boards of Fiat, Chrysler and the Peugeot have approved a $48 billion merger to create the world's fourth biggest car maker. In a joint statement, Fiat, Chrysler and Peugeot said each car maker's shareholders will own 50% of the combined operation. Fiat Chrysler owner John Elkman will become the chairman, and Peugeot's Carlos Tavares will be the CEO of the joint venture. Both car makers sold 8.7 million vehicles worldwide last year. The merger comes amid a slowdown in global car sales. Asian stock markets are mostly on the rise on the back of positive Chinese manufacturing activity. Indices have reversed early losses caused by concerns over whether the US and China can reach a long-term trade deal. The Shanghai Composite is trading nearly 1% higher after data showed Chinese manufacturing activity expanded more than expected in October. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index has also picked up over 0.5% as shares of developer ESR Cayman jumped on its public debut. Tokyo's Nikkei 225 has lagged and is trading a fraction lower, but Seoul's Kospi is trading over 0.5% higher. Now let's take a look at what the weather looks like around the world. And that's it for now. But for the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.